weekend news, we talk about the Nintendo Direct and about $70 for games. Extra, hear all about it. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that's more common than 2D Mario. I'm the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater on all platforms, and joining me is twitch.tv/graveyard. We have Gavin.
What's up?
Not a whole lot. What's up with you? How have you been doing? You finally got a day off work.
Give me one moment.
You got it. One moment. One.
I had to throw a hoodie on. Now, what'd you say?
Outside. I said, I know you've finally had some days off. How are you feeling?
God, I just want to sleep all the time. But I've been trying not to. I've been trying to keep my schedule normally.
Yeah.
I mean, I took a nap yesterday morning, before y'all got off work, but
that's nice. Yeah. Naps are great. You know, as a kid, I was like, oh, I don't want to take a nap. Now I'm like, oh, I have. Like yesterday, I took a nap too. Yesterday, I was like, got everything I needed to do done. I think I'm gonna. My family's out for a couple hours. Do I want a bath or do I nap? And I was like, no, nap, definitely nap.
So one of our, a very specific coworker of ours found out that I can take half naps. And to explain what a half nap is, it's where my body's taking a nap, my brain shut off as much as it possibly can be, but I'm still technically conscious. I can still hold a conversation and text and all that shit, but I don't remember any of it after the fact, and I feel refreshed.
Weird.
Yeah, so she found out that I can take half naps because she was texting me while I was taking a half nap.
Yeah. I've been doing pretty good. I had a busy week this week, so I'm waiting for that. I have a week off. Actually, it's 10 days or something off coming up. Just waiting for that. And talk about naps. Oh boy, will I be taking some. But this is Extra, your weekly gaming news podcast covering the news leading up to February 12th, 2023. And if you like us, you could go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom. Let's get to some news. But before we do that, let me tell you, last week's episode was a bitch to edit. Because, in the process of putting it into my audio editor, the audio editor actually renders it into the editor itself rather than just, oh, we're going to work from the file that's, in the, on your computer. We're actually going to render the file into the program. And so it takes a couple minutes to do that or whatever. And then I edit it from there. Well, at some point in the rendering, it took Landen's audio file, which was 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 11 minutes and 10 seconds. And it turned it into 3 hours. And then every time I would make a cut, because not only that, it didn't align with my recording, and all of our recordings are we have a program that's like starts the recording for everyone at the same time, so I never have to worry about adjusting, like cutting and like moving the files around. Well,
Mhm.
this time I did because it messed up that part of it. But every time I made a cut, it just started right at the beginning again. None of the stuff I did would work, and because it already rendered it into the program, I can't just exit out of the program and put it back in the program because it's just going to be the same thing because it's already done the process of rendering from my computer into the program. So I can't
Oh,
just start over, restart the program, and start over. Um, so I had to edit all of the audio through a video editor, which they have options, but it's not as good as using an actual audio editor. And with all of that going on, I didn't actually get the podcast out till Wednesday instead of Sunday. Because I also, on top of that, uh, Saturday and Sunday, I had no time to edit. And we recorded on Thursday. So I had Thursday and Friday to edit. And with all of that extra stuff going on, I could not get it done. And so I couldn't do it again till edit again till Monday. And then I had to go. It was a pain in the ass. But fingers crossed that doesn't happen with this week. I just want to let the audience know, not my fault.
it was all your fault.
It wasn't me. Anyway, let's start with the big thing that happened this week, the Nintendo Direct. Um, this was I believe it was 44 minutes and some change. It was a meaty Direct. It was like very lot to chew on, very flavorful. Uh, it started out with Pikmin 4. They introduced Ice Pikmin, which can, if an enemy eats an Ice Pikmin, they freeze. Uh, you can freeze water, so multiple types of Pikmin can cross bodies of water. Uh, they introduced some sort of dog-looking, Bulborb-looking thing. Bulborbs are enemies in the game, and it looks like a cross between a dog and that. And Pikmin can ride on the dog along with you and go again cross water. They're really, really focusing on you know, what's the word? Nerfing red Pikmin, because that's the one thing red Pikmin, or not red Pikmin, blue Pikmin can do, is go cross water. And they're like, oh no, 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 we're gonna give you all sorts of things to make blue Pikmin useless. Um, you're apparently finding, in addition to treasures like in previous games, you're also finding castaways, which are people that apparently crashed on this planet. Which, if you don't know, in the Pikmin games, Earth is a desolate planet, and the treasures that you find are just like Snapple caps and stuff like that, and they're worth a fortune, and you're like the size of a grass blade or whatever. Um, so yeah, oh boy, they ended the thing with a scary night scene. Normally you don't go out at night, so I'm not sure what that is about because normally you're not able to go out at night. But there's a Bulborb, and its eyes suddenly changed red and began marching. That comes out July 21st this year. Then they continued with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC. This is expansion 3 out of the 4. There's going to be a roguelike mode, which is interesting, and they showed off a new character, Masha. Uh, I was watching one reaction, and they're like, say hello to this new character, and they showed Masha off, and one of the people reacting goes, hello. And one of his co-hosts goes, "What? Why'd you say it like that? Why'd you say it weird?" There's definitely a reason. She's it's got stuff in certain places, but that DLC expansion comes out on the 15th of this month. So 3 days from when this podcast comes out. Samba de Amigo Party Central. This is from Sega. It's a dance game. Apparently, it's a franchise from 1999. Don't recognize it at all. And it comes out this summer. There's a Fashion Dreamer game, and it's just a fashion game. You're trying to become an influencer by having different outfits, and some people you're helping them become influencers by liking outfits that work for them. My sister, I have a sister that's very similar age to me, so I've seen, back in the day, I've seen several fashion games, and I personally didn't see anything in that game that was innovating much at all. But there are some people super excited about that game, and that's just sometime this year. They didn't give a specific window. Dead Cells, Return to Castlevania. That's a combination of Dead Cells and obviously Castlevania, as mentioned. That DLC comes out March 6th, 2023. Tron Identity, which is a visual novel, comes out April 23rd. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. This is a port of a DS detective game. Originally, it was released in the West on January in 2011. And this port comes out in the summer. Deca Police, which is a detective JRPG ? And you're trying to fight police corruption. That's 2023 as well. You're going to notice the last direct, a lot of farming simulators. This direct, a lot of mystery games or detective games or whatever you want to call it. Bayonetta Origins. They showed off more of this game. Interesting thing about this game is the character you play as, Cereza, who I believe is Bayonetta when she was real young. You cannot fight with her. You're support for a creature, a cat-like creature named Chester. And so you basically use your powers to hold down enemies so Cheshire can attack them without getting hurt. And that's the gameplay, which I think is an interesting play on an action game where you're not the one doing the action. That comes out March 17th. Splatoon 3 DLC. The first wave is Spring 23. It involves Inkopolis, which is a location from the first game. Then they teased Wave 2. And let me tell you, that was a mind fuck, what they showed for Wave 2. I've watched this direct 3 times. No idea what's going on there. A lot of crazy, creepy imagery. Everything's very grayscale. So that's interesting. Disney Illusion Island. This has Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy as playable characters. I don't know if they're playable based on what player you are, because there's couch co-op, or if you can choose what character you play as. It is a platformer game, and it comes out July 28th. Fire Emblem DLC. Wave 2 dropped that day that they showed off on the Direct with new summable characters. Wave 3 also has summable characters, and Wave 4 is more story. Harmony Fall of Reverie. This is from Don't Nod, who originally did Life is Strange. is it is a game similar to Life is Strange, but it's in a style art style that's very similar to Invincible. Um, is what it was described as, and yeah, I can see that it is very similar to Invincible in art style. It is a narrative adventure. Your character can see the future. There's like a whole tree where like whatever you align with, there's like power and chaos and wisdom and stuff like that. Whatever your alignment is, affects the story. It's not necessarily good and evil. It's just what you favor more, which is interesting. And the music is done by the Celeste composer. Uh, so you know that it's going to be a banger soundtrack. That comes out June 2023. They did like a lightning round where they talked about Octopath 2. That comes out February 24th. We Love Katamari. That comes out June 2nd. Sea of Stars comes out August 29th. Omega Strikers comes out April 27th. Sea of Stars, Octopath 2 we know about. Katamari, obviously that's the one where you roll the ball around. Sea of Stars is another pixel art JRPG, but it looks good. I will say that it looks very pretty. And then Omega Strikers is a free to play soccer meets air hockey style game. And then they showed off Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection. I've never heard of this franchise, but Etrian Odyssey is you can buy these games together or separate if you want, but they're games where you're in a labyrinth with a blank map, and you make the map as you go. Like as you go down a path, you're like, okay, so this ends here, and then you go down the next path, and you're like, okay, so this path goes here, and like you're actually marking it down as you go. And then if you get into combat, it's turn-based RPG battles, and if you die, you have to go back to the beginning of the labyrinth. That comes out June 1st. They finally talked about Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. So because they talked about it, that must mean, the delay was because of the war in Ukraine. That must mean the war in Ukraine is over. It's tactical turn-based strategy game that was games that were originally on Game Boy. That comes out April 21st. Then you have Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. There's a new story which is called Magalore Epilogue. And you would know that character if you've played the Return to Dreamland before this port / remaster, whatever you want to call it. And in it, you have to restore Magalore's powers. That comes out February 24th, so not too far away. And then they showed something that a lot of people popped off for, including me. You can find specific highlights on the XofPlays channel or on my Twitch, which, as I mentioned before, is the Dean Slater. You can find the highlights of all the reactions and everything there. But yeah, the Nintendo Switch Online is adding a Game Boy collection, and you can choose from 3 different filters. The Game Boy, the original Game Boy, the green filter, so everything on the screen's green. The Pocket filter, so it's a black and white screen, or the color filter. The launch games include Tetris, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, Link's Awakening DX, Gargoyle's Quest, Game & Watch Gallery 3, Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, which I had no idea that even existed, Metroid 2, Return of Samus. I would recommend, honestly, just getting a DS and playing the remake of that game, because the Game Boy version. Wario Land 3, Kirby's Dream Land, which is Kirby's first game. And then you have the future games coming to the system, which it includes Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, that's Zelda, Pokemon trading card game, and Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which I believe had an early version of gyroscope. So you would tilt your Game Boy specific ways, and you'd go through puzzles that way. Then for Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack, which is their premium subscription service, you can get GBA games. And in these, you can play local or online multiplayer. They didn't say anything about the original Game Boy doing that, so keep that in the back of your mind. You can play Super Mario Advanced 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. What a title. WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games. Kururin. I hope I said that right. Apologies if I didn't. Mario Kart Super Circuit. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Minish Cap. And then future games include Metroid Fusion, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Fire Emblem, F-Zero, and Golden Sun. Woo! Definitely named one of my daughters after a character from Golden Sun. Fun fact. So you can figure that out from there if you are that weird. Then they went into Metroid Prime Remaster, which looks brand new. This remaster looks immaculate. Samus had texture on her visor, apparently, which I'm just now noticing because it is remastered. That's crazy that they were doing that in 2002. The controls have been redone to have dual stick controls, because back in the day, it didn't, and you had to hit the R button in order to look up and down. And then there was a digital shadow drop. So they're like, oh yeah, you can play it right now digitally. The physical version will release February 22nd. Then they showed off Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which I believe they introduced in the last Direct. It's from the Danganronpa dev. And each detective you work with has special powers to help you figure that out. That releases June 30th. Baten Kaitos 1+2 HD Remaster. They were originally released on the GameCube. They are high fantasy with sci-fi elements and card-based, turn-based RPG combat. And that comes out in the summer. Fantasy Life, The Girl Who Steals Time, which looks to be Animal Crossing with combat, and you travel between past and present to make your island the way you want. That comes out in 2023. And then they revealed a new Professor Layton game, Professor Layton and the World of Steam. No date because it was just a reveal. Mario Kart 8 DLC, Wave 4, out of, I believe, 8. Brand new course. I believe this is the first time they actually made a brand new course. It has just been them porting old courses to the game. And that's it's Yoshi's Island, and then Birdo is playable now. So they're adding a new character. That comes out in the spring. Then they did another montage, which has Minecraft Legends in April 18th. Blanc, February 14th. That's a choice. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, April 14th. Have a Nice Death is coming out March 22nd. WBSC Baseball Power Pros is now out. Disney Dreamlight Valley, there's a new realm coming out in April. And then Tales of Symphonia Remastered coming out February 17th. And then they showed a new Tears of the Kingdom trailer. They showed different landscapes with enemies and the voice of presumably Ganondorf. You told me you believe it is Matthew Mercer. There was a lot of conversation about that. I will go with you on that because I'm not as familiar with voice actors as I should be. And Ganondorf was saying very sinister things. There appears to be Trinex in the game, which is crazy. There's a blood moon destroying. Again, it was in the first game, and this time it destroys the environment and upgrades enemies? Question mark. In the beginning, it did upgrade enemies, but only for that night that the blood moon was available. But it seemed to be doing more than that. And then it showed a montage of different enemies you'll be facing. Redead's returned to the game, which I'm not super thrilled about. Don't like those guys. Zelda, then you hear Zelda's voice, and she's doubting Link, and it shows Link rail grinding Sonic style. And then you use, quote, the Sheikah Slate, which is your arm in this game, to build vehicles. You can build vehicles in this game. And then it ends with Link jumping after Zelda in a moment they've shown over and over again. And that was the end of the Direct. Woo! I should have a drink after that, but I did not grab one. But what is your thoughts on, well, all of this?
Sounds like a lot of stuff coming out, dog.
Yeah. Anything catch your attention when I said it?
Not really. I'm not a big Nintendo person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe Have a Nice Death has been on other platforms. And that looks to be your cup of tea. I can send you the link. But yeah, I think something that they really missed the mark on is they missed the mark on back I think it was 2002. Back in 2002 they released Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion on the same day. And here they released Metroid Prime and Game Boy Advance on NSO on the same day. But Metroid Fusion was not in there. What a missed opportunity to do it again. It is in general, by the way, now. But yeah, so as far as things that caught my eye, obviously, and we're going to talk about the pricing of it, it's Tears of the Kingdom I'm going to buy. I'm not super happy with the pricing of it, but I'm going to buy that. Tales of Symphonia I would love to buy. We'll see how many games come out this year that I need to buy, but I would love to buy that. That was my first Tales game and pretty much still is my favorite. I've only briefly touched on other Tales games, but none of them have spoken to me the way Tales of Symphonia did. Blanc, I'm interested in. Man, what an interesting decision to do it in February. It's just it is everything about that game just screams that it's going to be a sad game, and then it comes out on Valentine's Day. It's like people that have a Valentine, they don't want to have something sad to play together, and then people that don't have a Valentine don't want to be even more sad than they already are. So it's like what a game to release on Valentine's Day, but it is what it is. Of course, Minecraft Legends has me interested,
Right.
just because I love that Minecraft is taking their brand in testing uh, other forms of genres and stuff. Like there was Minecraft Dungeons, which was basically Minecraft meets Diablo. This is Minecraft, I believe, meets like Civilization. Um, I'd have to check to be sure, but I believe that's what that is. It's interesting that Mario Kart 8 has, actual new content and not ported content. So does that mean that they are not working on anything whatsoever, that team, and they're just working exclusively on Mario Kart 8? Which, may I remind you, is a Mario Kart 8 is a Wii U title. So you're talking about it's already nearly 10 years old already. Like, that's crazy to me. Let's see. Master Detective Archive Raincode. The dev, you would love the games that the dev puts out. I don't know if you've seen any Danganronpa games.
I have heard of Danganronpa.
Yeah,
I've
look
never
up
seen it.
look up some gameplay. I think it's up your alley.
You
But
think so?
I think so. Actually, I had one moment with the trailer where for Master Detective Archive, they're like, "This is so and so. She's haunting the main character." And my wife was in the room with me while I was reacting, and I go, "She can haunt me anytime."
Damn it, dude.
Yeah, so that one's interesting because you're working with other detectives. They each have different powers. Like one can transform into other people. Another has post cognition, where they see events that have already happened. Which I'm not sure how that works, but let's go with it. And then they have a character that has really good hearing. Like it's hard to explain, but they can hear things. So you're
It's
working with them in their
it's like
separate.
I can see into the past. I can do this. Like I can hear really good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
So
me, dog. That's just me. Yeah, I hear good.
you also apparently can smell sickness. So I don't know what's up with you.
And
Um,
rain and thunder,
that's true. That's true.
or not thunder. You can't really smell that. I can smell lightning though.
But yeah, they and then when you finally, in a very persona-esque way, once you've like uncovered enough evidence, apparently you'll go into this other realm where you fight the perpetrator's like spirit or something, and it involves you dodging the truths that they say and using the evidence that you've collected and slashing at inconsistencies in their story. So the
It's like
boss is
fucking. It's like fucking court, but it feels brutal.
yeah. So like the boss essentially is just talking, telling a story, and you're just hopping back and forth between the accurate statements and then attacking like their actual words coming at you. And then you attack the words that the statements that are inconsistent, which I think is pretty fucking interesting.
I love
Like,
this. It's like I say this happened. It's like false. Oh,
objection.
my one weakness: people not believing me.
I as I mentioned, Metroid Prime, I love. There we go. This is the
Fuck you,
second.
Craig.
Fuck you, Craig. This is the second time that's happened. Uh, it happened what 2 weeks ago, and I'd heard that occasionally it had this problem. I've never had this problem in the year we've used Craig,
Yeah, I
and
love it
now
because you're just like, yeah, this never fucking. It's like I've never experienced this, so whatever, and now it happens.
Yeah, and this is the second time in 3 weeks it's happened. Uh, anyway, um, Metroid Prime. I love, love, love Metroid Prime. Um, and I love that they've done the dual stick controls. I actually haven't played it yet. But I know someone who has,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that the controls they set up just flow so perfectly, which is great that it's not like half-hearted where they're like, all right, dual stick is the way to go on consoles. Let's just rearrange things so that they don't make sense. Uh, the controls make perfect sense, which is phenomenal. And you'd think that'd be like, well, yeah, obviously you would do that. Nintendo, with especially with their NSO N64 stuff, some of the controls fucking weird, man. Almost unplayable weird. Uh so yeah, can't wait to actually play that. And that one is only $50 since it is a remaster of a 20-year-old game.
Yeah.
I mentioned before Golden Sun. I love the Golden Sun franchise. I think they did the Golden Sun franchise dirty by releasing uh I forget the exact time frame, but they released Golden Sun 3 like 2 months before the console it was released on was replaced with a new one. So it's like,
Oof.
really? Titanfall 2'd Golden Sun? Um, but yeah, one of my daughters is named after a Golden Sun character, if that tells you anything about how much I love that franchise.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, as I said, Metroid Fusion, it was a mistake not releasing that on the same day as Metroid Prime because they did that 20 years ago. And it's like, why didn't you do that again? It makes so much sense to do. Uh but they have Minish Cap on there, and guess what? If you want to hear more about Minish Cap, shameless plug, go to patreon.com, and on our post show, you can hear more about the Minish Cap. Um, so little hint about that. Do. The Oracle games are phenomenal. Pokemon trading card game, actually really fun. Um, very outdated because all of the cards in that are no longer in circulation and no longer tournament legal. But it's a fun game. It's very RPG esque, like JRPG esque, for a card building game. I've never played a Yu-Gi-Oh game, so I can't speak to whether it's similar to those or not. But it's a fun game.
If I remember, the Pokemon trading card game wasn't really the same. Obviously, there's
Yeah,
similarities, but it's not really the
yeah,
same.
yeah. I never I never could get into Yu-Gi-Oh or playing Yu-Gi-Oh, so I've never bothered playing the games. Um,
The way the way Jake described Yu-Gi-Oh to me when I got him into Master Duel was that Yu-Gi-Oh is just extremely dumbed down magic.
yes, yes, yes. I will agree with that because my wife tried teaching me Magic too, and I was like, well, I have no patience or no desire to learn this. So she's like,
Yeah,
all
it's
right,
like
I'll.
this is too much. Like even Yu-Gi-Oh now is a lot for me because they have Z's, synchros, fucking
Yeah,
tribute summons, fucking there's a lot. Link summons. It's back in the day it was just fucking like you had tribute summons and then you had fusion summons. That was it. Now you got like
yeah,
six different types of summons.
yeah. Couldn't be me. I've made the joke. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp was supposed to come out like 6 months ago. maybe 8 months ago, somewhere in there. And then all of a sudden, they were it literally the week after the war in Ukraine started was when it was supposed to release, and Nintendo's like, maybe we push this out. So that's where that joke came from. It may have been in poor taste. I apologize to anyone that may have been offended by that, but it was postponed due to the war in Ukraine. So I think it's funny that they're like, now's the time to release it. Uh, let's see. Don't nod. I love the Life is Strange games, so I'm interested in Harmony Fall of Reverie. It does look really, really pretty. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. That is definitely one where I could wait on it. I don't necessarily need to play it right away. As bad as that is to say, Bayonetta Origins. I actually, having never played Bayonetta, I'm actually really excited about Bayonetta Origins. This looks like a Dean-ass game. I don't know if you've seen any the two trailers they've shown of that game. This looks like a Dean-ass game. Again, the two detective games they had back to back, Ghost Trick and Phantom Detective and Deca Police. I'm slightly interested in it. Ghost Trick probably more than Deca Police, because essentially Ghost Trick, the whole premise is you're a detective that has died, and so now your spirit is trying to solve your own murder and helping this other like junior detective solve your murder, which is interesting. I love that premise. Dead Cells, phenomenal franchise. And it's already very Castlevania like Dead Cells is. So them doing a crossover with Castlevania only makes sense. As soon as I saw it, I was what is it, 5 months ago or whenever they had their last direct. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that makes nothing but sense. It's like it was made to happen. And then Pikmin 4. Me and my mom used to play Pikmin, the original Pikmin, back to back. And that whole game, the whole concept is you've crash landed on this planet. You only have enough oxygen to last 30 days. You need to get your ship fixed in 30 days. Or you die. And so me and my mom ended up loving the game so much that we had competitions on who could beat the game faster. And I think she got down to like 14 days, which is less than half the time you're given 30 days. So like she got down to 14 days, and I couldn't get below 15 if I remember correctly. So she ended up beating me in that, but like it was just fun finding the most optimal routes over and over and over again. And yeah, all these different Pikmin that they show off is very interesting. That's the stuff I'm interested in the game or in this direct. So it was a massive direct. There was a whole conversation that people were having about whether or not what constitutes a good showcase, and whether it's about like. And I saw a lot of people talking about it in a very do the games appeal to me kind of way, and I don't think you should grade a showcase based on that. Obviously, this showcase did appeal to me, so like I do favor it over not, but I will say the showcase itself dragged in the middle. They definitely could have rearranged some games, and there's also like these developers pay a certain amount of money to be in a certain place, so it's hard to like really organize it without having the developers actually work together and agree on spots.
Developers working together? What?
Yeah, but it definitely dragged in the middle. They could have moved some of the bigger announcements that they had at the end towards the middle, and kind of like beginning middle area,
Mm-hmm.
and made it less draggy. But again, that's the old production side that we don't really see the inside of. And like I said, I'm sure there's an issue where developers have specific spots they want to be in, and like it's a whole thing. So we're gonna go ahead, and I'm looking at this. So 36, and then wow, I've been talking a lot. We're
Yeah.
gonna do a short little discussion. Uh, so this whole just prior to this direct, people noticed that the eShop showed Tears of the Kingdom being $70. And then that was followed by pre-order pages at many retailers having been taken down. And Nintendo later confirmed, hey, this is a case-by-case basis. But yes, it is $70. Um, and Sony has been selling their games for 2 years at the $70 mark, and Microsoft announced that starting this year they would be selling the games at $70. Uh, Instead of going through the story I was going to go through, we'll just briefly have a talk. Um, what do you think about this $70 price tag for a Switch game, and even just in general, as an industry raising the price $10?
I I don't like it. It's for so long. Like
Yeah.
why? Like why? Like
Well,
$70
I
for
could,
it.
yeah. I can tell you that the reasons why. Um, and unfortunately, and this is why I struggle a little bit with the Tears of the Kingdom thing, but I can also see what they're saying too. But the whole idea is, you know, video games, the hardware has gotten so big that, and the games have to now be so detailed that the cost of making games has gone up so much. And so it's one of those things, uh, they have to increase the price, but they still want it to be somewhat affordable to the everyman. So like they decided $10 was a good mark. All of it's arbitrary. Everything in the economy is arbitrary. Every value is a made up value across the board. Bananas, the cost of bananas per pound, that's arbitrary. The cost of pizza rolls, arbitrary. Everything is arbitrary. They're like, this is how much we spend. How much extra do we want to make? How much more than what we're spending do we want to make? It's all arbitrary. And even then, the prices they're paying to make it, arbitrary. Um, it's all bullshit. But they decided $10 was a good mark where they can still make these incredibly detailed, massive games, but make continue to make a profit on them is the reasoning. And for Tears of the Kingdom, even though it's not graphically as impressive as some of these other games, the reason that it's $70, a lot of people are theorizing. Nintendo is pretty cagey about their response to it, but a lot of people are theorizing it's because of how many delays they've had to take on it and how long it's been in development. They're trying to make the cost up based on the length of that development. But that's the why. Uh, I, I I understand that. I do struggle with um, this game. As much as I love Zelda, as much as I love Nintendo games, this game is gonna run like garbage on the Switch because the Switch hardware can't take it. And they definitely in development had to make some concessions visually because the hardware has limitations. So that's where I'm like, is it worth it? For me, it is still worth it because I loved Breath of the Wild so much. But I can see where someone's like, that's not worth it for me. I'm not buying it. And where Nintendo could get into some issues there. It's really, at the end of the day, it's how much you want to spend and how much you love video games in general. Because the other thing, we're hitting a recession, which a lot of analysts are saying is going to be the biggest recession since World War II. We're just driving straight into it full speed. So inflation's going to be a bitch in general. But yeah, no, it's tough for me. It's still worth it to me, but it definitely gives me pause about whether I want to buy it or not. It's at that range where it's like, is it worth it? Where I have to ask that now.
I'm not even entirely
anyway,
sure what a recession is. I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to it at all. The one positive is I know that both me and my wife are in careers where we have quite a bit of job security because of what we do. I'm not going to just flat out say it, but we're not going away. Like, our jobs are not going away. That being said, it's still scary because are we going to be able to afford to live at the prices that everything's going to be by the time we hit the apex of this recession, so to speak.
People live in our current fucking situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's sad because we don't make terrible money. But again, it's all arbitrary. Yeah. I was having this conversation with my dad the other day. We've reached the point where capitalism has gone on unchecked too long. Where, free market or whatever the Republicans say or whatever. But at the end of the day, people can only live so long with, companies making, like the CEO is making so much more than their employees per dollar or whatever. Like, there's some companies where they're making like $1,000+ for every $1 their employees make. Like, that is ridiculous. That is a crazy number to think about. I'm sure the CEO of the company you and I work for, I'm sure he's making over $1,000 per dollar that each of us makes. So, like, you take the you really it sounds so right now to me it sounds like you're singing with the auto tune. Where you're like,
God damn it. Is it good now?
Yeah, it sounds good now.
But yeah, like I think about, like, if I had that kind of money, I would not know what to fucking do with it.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
And here's the thing: we both know that I can spend some fucking money, but like,
Oh yeah, you can.
I wouldn't know what to do with all that.
I wouldn't know what to do with it either. But that's I like that I don't have to ever worry on what to do with that. But if you like this podcast, or even if you didn't like this podcast, be sure to do all of the things like hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and hitting the bell at the XofPlays on YouTube, or giving it a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. And I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefingroom, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.